I never imagined that a Thursday night would mark the unraveling of my marriage. We had always joked that we were the boring couple, the ones who didn't make waves, didn't have drama, just two people who loved each other and built a quiet life. And maybe that's why I didn't see it coming. Emily and I had been married for 8 years. We met in grad school. She was studying clinical psychology, and I was knee-deep in data science. It started with her borrowing my charger in the campus library, and next thing I knew, I was driving her to weekend lectures, and we were planning our wedding. Life with her felt like something out of a soft indie film. Quiet mornings, long conversations, comfort in every corner. I thought we had the kind of relationship others envied. We never really fought. We never really talked about fighting, either. Lately, though, something had shifted. She was distant in that way where everything looks normal if you're not paying close attention. Still made coffee in the morning. Still asked how my day was. But she stopped really listening. The light in her eyes was flickering, and I blamed it on her work. Her caseload had been heavy, and she brought the stress home with her. It was my friend Colin's birthday that Thursday. He wanted a night out, nothing crazy, just drinks and bad dancing at one of those polished clubs downtown, where the music's too loud and the drinks cost twice what they're worth. Emily didn't usually come to these things, but that night, she surprised me. "I need to let loose," she said, slipping into a black dress I hadn't seen in months. It fit her like it was stitched from memory. "You good with me tagging along?" Of course I was. We met up with Colin and a few others around 9. The place was packed, humid with sweat and bass. I ordered a round, and she disappeared to the bar for something stronger. When I looked back after chatting with Colin, I saw her laughing. Head thrown back, hand on someone's arm. The bartender's. I told myself not to overthink it. He was a flirty guy, lean, tan, with a carefully careless man bun, and the kind of smirk you only earn from breaking hearts. He slid her a drink, said something, and she leaned in. Her smile wasn't just polite, it was engaged. Like he had reached some part of her I hadn't touched in months. I watched them. Not long, just long enough to know I wasn't being paranoid. When she came back, she was all sparkle and tension. "Try this," she said, offering her drink. I tasted it, vodka with some floral twist. "He made it up for me." "Nice of him," I said. She laughed it off. I tried to. But the way her eyes flicked back toward the bar told me everything. The rest of the night, she kept looking for him. I caught her eyes drifting across the crowd, tracking him. He was watching her, too. Every time I turned to talk to someone, it felt like she was slipping further away. We left around midnight. She was quiet in the car, tipsy but not sloppy. I asked if she had fun. "Yeah," she said, a bit too softly. "It felt good to be seen." I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't want to hear the answer. The next day, she was on her phone more than usual, smiling at nothing, hiding the screen when I walked by. I didn't press. I wasn't ready to see what I already knew. The weekend came and went. Sunday night, I woke up to an empty bed. I found her in the living room, lit only by her phone screen. Her face was soft, almost dreaming. When she saw me, she jumped. "Couldn't sleep," she said. "Too much on my mind." But it wasn't work on her mind. It was him. I didn't sleep much after that. That week, she started going out more. "Girls' night," she said. Needed space. I nodded. What else could I do? Friday night I waited up. She came back at 2 in the morning, shoes in hand, makeup smeared like a memory. She didn't even look surprised to see me on the couch. "We need to talk," I said, and my voice didn't even sound like mine. She stood there for a long moment, then sat beside me. "It wasn't planned," she whispered. I didn't mean to cross the line. I closed my eyes. The room swayed. His name? Leo, she said. The bartender. I didn't ask for details. I didn't want to know. But I needed to. I felt alive, she admitted, like I hadn't in years. And just like that, the life we built felt like a stranger in our house. After that night, everything felt heavier. The silence between us wasn't just awkward, it was loaded, like an unspoken agreement to avoid the truth unless absolutely necessary. She slept in the guest room. I told people she had the flu. What crushed me the most wasn't just the cheating, it was the choice. Emily chose to go back to that nightclub. She chose Leo. She chose to lie. Every moment she said she was out with friends or working late, she chose someone else over us. And yet, I didn't kick her out. Not right away. Some part of me wanted to believe there was still something left worth saving. A frayed thread of loyalty, maybe. Or just fear of being alone. She tried in her own way. She suggested counseling. She offered to block Leo's number. But it all felt like damage control. Like she was trying to clean up a mess without admitting how deep it went. Then one night, about 2 weeks later, I got curious. Not about Leo himself. I didn't want to know what made him so irresistible, but about how far things had really gone. I went through her messages. I had never done that before. Never thought I'd be the guy snooping through texts at 2 a.m., hands shaking. They weren't just flirty messages. They were intimate. She called him baby, sent selfies, described nights they'd spent together in detail I never got, not even when we were at our best. She told him she felt more understood in one night than she had in years with me. That was the end. The next morning, I told her I wanted a divorce. No counseling. No trying again. No more pretending we could go back. She cried, not for me, I think, but for the version of herself she'd just destroyed. I moved out 2 weeks later. She stayed in the apartment, the one we'd shared for 5 years. I didn't want it anymore. I took my things, left the couch, the kitchen table, even the bed. It all smelled like a life that wasn't mine anymore. The first few months were rough. I drank too much. Slept too little. I got obsessed with the idea of being replaced, of Leo wearing my cologne, holding her the way I used to. I wondered if he made her laugh like I did, if she curled up in his arms with that same little sigh that used to melt me. But pain has a weird way of becoming familiar. You get used to waking up alone. You get used to not texting someone when something funny happens. You get used to the quiet, and then one day, you start to like it. I found a new apartment. Got a dog, yeah, cliché, I know, but he needed me. And maybe I needed something to need me. I started working out again. Joined a group of weekend hikers. It wasn't exactly therapy, but something about walking up a mountain and leaving pieces of yourself on the trail helped. 6 months later, I ran into Emily. It was at the grocery store of all places. She looked different, tired, smaller somehow. She smiled, soft and awkward. "Hi," she said. "You look good." "You too," I lied. There was a beat of silence. Then she asked, "Are you happy?" I didn't answer right away. I thought about the hikes, the dog, the long nights I spent figuring out who I was without her. I thought about how I'd stopped waking up angry. How I laughed more, even if it still sometimes hurt. "I'm getting there," I said. She nodded. "That's good. I'm still trying to figure things out." I didn't ask about Leo. I didn't need to. If he was still around, he wasn't who she thought he'd be. That much was written all over her face. We parted ways with a polite hug. Nothing more. I didn't look back.